And then I'm also very pleased to introduce a demo from Phill, one of the participants of our FlipFest, and he's going to showcase a flow event monitoring service that he made.
Hey guys, my name's Phil, and thanks very much for letting me have this time to demo one of the things I've been working on for FlipFest. I'd also like to say thanks to Ben Ebner for his help and guidance throughout FlipFest, to Mac for taking the time to explain the Kitty items marketplace to me, thanks to Joshua Hannon for answering my endless questions in the Cadence channel, and thanks to everyone in the Flow community for making it such a great place to be. So during FlipFest, I was helping Ben with the CryptoDAppy tutorials, and I was tasked with creating a series that would guide people on how to make their own NFT marketplace. I'd only been learning about the Flow ecosystem and Cadence for a few weeks, and so I was very much a beginner. There were a few things that I had to learn. To add context for those of you listening who are also just starting out, Flow has a direct ownership model, where you own your own assets as they are in your account. Assets aren't stored in a central smart contract. Because there's no single location where the assets are stored, we need a way to keep track of the movements and changes to these assets. We do this using events, which are essentially messages that are posted to the blockchain that off-chain applications can listen out for in order to understand the history of the blockchain and therefore update accordingly. When we build marketplaces on Flow, we don't move the assets into a central marketplace account, as that would mean that effectively we don't own them anymore. Instead, we create a listing resource, and this process creates events that we listen out for, and we can use these events to create records in a backend database. We can use this database to populate our market, and this means that the assets can remain in the accounts of the owners while still being listed on the market. So basically, what this means is that you will need infrastructure to frequently query the blockchain for events, batch those events up, store them in a database, and expose an API that will allow a marketplace to query for records. So since I have experience with AWS, I thought I would stick with what I know, and I decided to build a serverless solution. Disclaimer, I am not an AWS expert, so I apologize if there are any awful mistakes. And this is what I've built. It centers around this Flow Event Monitor Lambda, which queries the Flow blockchain for events at regular intervals. The intervals are regulated by step functions, which trigger the iterator function 10 times per minute. An event bridge triggers the step functions once per minute. So the end result is that the Flow Event Monitor Lambda scans the blockchain every 6 seconds for new events. When it finds new events, it batches them up and saves them to DynamoDB. And it also saves a cursor for the block height so that it can start from that location next time. There's an endpoint exposed by API Gateway, and this triggers a Lambda which gets the records for the front end. So to make it accessible to other people, I've created this repo here, the FlowMarketPlaceEventMonitor repo, and I've included as much information as I've had the time to add, and I plan on adding more when I get a moment. I provided an introduction on what it does, and for beginners why you need to listen to events if you have a marketplace. I've talked a bit about which AWS services are used, and I've provided diagrams of the architecture. There's a section on how the central Flow Event Monitor Lambda actually works and a very rough cost estimate. There's also a getting started section and a section on how to modify it for your own use, and then some sections that I still need to finish. So if you clone this repo, you'll end up with this. So we have the Flow Event Monitor Lambda here, which is the central Lambda. We have the iterator Lambda, which invokes the Flow Event Monitor Lambda every 6 seconds. And we have the Lambda which queries the records for the front end. If we take a quick look at some of the code, you'll see that I've tried to be as explicit as possible and commented on everything to make it easy to navigate and understand. It doesn't really have any error handling at the minute, it just throws everywhere. So the usefulness of this would be a bit limited unless you actually had access to the infrastructure itself, the AWS resources that make up the event monitor. To solve that, I've written this CloudFormation template, And what this does is it creates all of the resources that you need in order to run this backend. And there's about 40 of them. So it saves you a lot of the hassle because you can deploy this script with about 3 lines of code in your terminal, and you can have the same serverless backend as that described in the repo in just a few clicks. You just need to change the event addresses here on line 313 and 14 so that they point to the events that you would like to listen for. And once you've deployed the CloudFormation template, you just need to run the shell scripts that I've written in each of the Lambda folders, which push the Lambda code to the AWS consoles in your account. I'll be making a video on how to deploy it so it's as easy as possible. So to deploy the stack, you simply run this command and AWS will start building it for you in the cloud. Head on over to CloudFormation, and once it's finished building, you'll end up with this. We can check the resources by clicking on here, and you can see that all 40 have been deployed. There are a couple more deployment steps that you need to do, such as running the publish scripts, but it's no more than 30 seconds work. Go to EventBridge, and this is how you start the event monitor. So you simply click this button here, and once you've done that, the event monitor will start querying the blockchain for events every 6 seconds, and they will be saved to your DynamoDB table. So this is the table that the listings get saved to. You can go to the Lambda function. Where is it? You go to the Lambda function and you can change the environment variables here, which means that it will start listening for events at this address. So you can change these to point to events that you'd like to listen out for. If we go to API Gateway, you have the endpoint here that you can copy and paste into your front-end application, and you can append marketplace to it, so it would be test/marketplace, and that will allow your front end to query the listings table. So the cool thing is about this script is that it handles CORS setup for you, cross-origin resource sharing, and anyone that has set up CORS manually on AWS API Gateway knows that it's not user-friendly at all. So this is ready to go out of the box. But how about if you didn't want to run this stack continuously up in the cloud? To be completely clear, you shouldn't be doing that anyway without doing a cost analysis. If you wanted to run a local standalone node script that queried the blockchain for you and saved the events to DynamoDB, you could go over to the FlowEventMonitor Lambda, change directory into the FlowEventMonitor Lambda folder, and then you'll need to change the name of the function in there to any old name, and then call it down here. Hit save, and then simply run node index.js, and that will start scanning the blockchain for you, looking for events. There aren't any emitted for these particular addresses, so we won't pick any up. And then once it's finished, the events that it picked up will have been saved to the DynamoDB. So let's have a look at the Crypto Dappy marketplace. So here are the Dappies that the current user owns. Here are the Dappies in the marketplace. And if we wanted to list one of our Dappies that we own, we give it a price and click list. And now the Dappy's in the marketplace. And so let's run the FlowEventMonitor Lambda again. And now it's scanning the blockchain, listening for those events. There's the event that is picked up, and it saved it to DynamoDB. So now let's look at DynamoDB. find our table. And there we can see our DAPI that was listed on the market, and it's now available to our front end to be listed in the marketplace. And likewise, if a user were to remove this DAPI from the market and then run the FlowEventMonitor Lambda, it would pick it up and this entry here would be deleted. So I think that's everything. Feel free to open any pull requests if you have any suggestions for improvements, and I welcome your feedback. Thanks very much for listening.